Hello everyone, welcome to this second video in which we are going to learn SQL from very basic to very advanced. Now in this particular video, we are going to talk about how we can apply where clause. Now in the last video, we have learned how we can apply a simple where clause, but in this video, we will talk about how we can use various other functionalities like in operator, between operator, like operator, and we will also learn how we can write multiple filters if you have to write multiple conditions. So this is what we are going to talk about in this video. Additionally, we will be also talking about how to write a group by clause, how to write a having clause, how to order your data. So we are going to cover everything in this particular video. Please be with us till the end of this video. But before we start this video, don't forget to like this video, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel Session with Sumit. Let's get started.
We have talked about how we can filter a particular table on one condition. So if I have to find out the summary metric, like let's say minimum of salary, comma maximum of salary, comma average of salary from the table employees, and we can write down the condition as where, let's say, the job ID is equal to ADVP. Now this is my condition, and let's execute this. Now, so there are two things that you guys have to understand. Number one, when we talk about the PostgreSQL, the platform or the vendor PostgreSQL, in this platform, please remember one thing, that your SQL query, which basically means these clauses, select, from, where, these are case insensitive. So SQL clauses, these are case insensitive. But when I talk about the data which is the part of your table, for example this. Now if I look into this table, which is employee data, select a star from the table employees, you will find out that here the data which is available in this table is in capital or maybe all caps, right? So while I am working with the vendor PostgreSQL, I have to make sure that I am providing the data in proper case. I cannot do this because the data is case sensitive. Data is case sensitive in the case of PostgreSQL. So this is case sensitive, this is case sensitive, this is case sensitive in the case of Postgre. Second thing, now while you are working with MS SQL, right now my platform is MySQL, but let's say you are working with MS SQL. In that case, when you are applying a formula on a particular column, so here we have applied the formula minimum, and this is known as a function. So when you apply a function to a particular column, and if I try to look into the result, so I have to select it plus. So here you can see that I'm getting the column name as function itself, what I have declared over here. But in the case of MS SQL, you will get no column name because it has not declared anything. We haven't defined what exactly column name I need. In that case, we can declare the column name or define the column name using as and then the name of the column. So let's say min underscore salary, as max underscore salary, as average underscore salary. And when I execute this, here you have the result. Now let's talk about how we can write multiple conditions. And I hope you guys already know that we can combine multiple conditions using the clause and the second one is or. Now let's say I'm having two conditions. So my first condition is where salary is greater than 5,000, and the second condition is where the department ID is equal to, let's say, 90. Now if I use the AND clause with these two conditions, which is condition number 1 and 2, so let's call this one as condition 1, C1, and let's call this as C2. So C1, C2, and if I use the AND operator between them, then what will be my output? So let's try to understand it. So if your condition number 1 is true, if your condition number 1 is true and your condition number 2 is also true, then only you will get the particular output or the row. So you will get all those records where this is correct as well as this is correct. Now let's say if this is correct, this condition is correct, but this condition is false, then you will not get that particular record. If this is false and this is true, then also you will not get that record. If this is false and this is also false, then also you will not get that record. So while we are working with the AND operator, I will only get those records where both of my conditions are true. That's what will happen when you use AND. But if I use the OR operator, so let's say condition 1, then condition 2, and then my output. So here we are having true, true, and you will get true. So if condition 1 is correct or condition 2 is correct, so if either of the condition is correct, you will get that particular record. If this is true, this is false. So if condition 1 is true but condition 2 is false, still you will get the record. If this is false, this is true, still you will get the record. You will not get any record, or you will not get that particular record where both the conditions are false. So you will get a record for all the cases where either of the condition is true. So in nutshell, we use AND operator when we want only those records where all the conditions which we have declared are true, are possible, or maybe are happening. We use OR operator when we want all those records where either of the conditions which we have declared are true. Now let's see one example. So let's say I wanted to filter all those employees. Select a star from the table employees where my condition number 1 is where the department ID is let's say 60 and is the salary is less than 6,000. Let's execute this one. So here you can see we are getting all those records where this condition as well as this condition is true. So you can see that I'm getting all the records where the department ID is 60 and for all these employees the salary is less than 6,000. So I'm getting all those records where where both of these conditions are true. That is when we use the AND clause or AND logical operator. Now if I need count instead of let's say all the employees, I can just simply say count is star, and here we have the result. I can also use as CNT to get the column name, and we are done. Okay, so given this particular question, whenever we have to solve any SQL query, the way I follow the procedure is, first of all, I look into that particular table. So I'll just simply say select a star from John underscore data. Now here I have already executed it, so you can see the result. So it will help you to understand that what all fields you have in the table. Also, sometimes the data is really huge, so you can limit it to let's say the first 10 records. So I'm saying limit it to the first 10 records. Again, please remember one thing, that this mechanism or this query or this clause will not work on other platforms. So this will work in PostgreSQL. This will not work in MS SQL, and I think for other platforms this will work out. So this is limited to I think PostgreSQL and MySQL, but this will help you to just look at the top 10 records or the first 10 records in the table. Now the question is asking us to find out the average monthly charges of customers who are having tenure greater than 50. So here I will use the clause where. So the where clause comes immediately after from. So select from, then where tenure is greater than 50. That's my condition number 1. And condition number 2 is churn is equal to no. Now here if you guys carefully observe, I haven't worried about the cases. So here you can see that in my table the column churn is having capital C, as well as if you look into the value no is having capital N. But I have used all small cases because in MySQL we do not have to worry about cases. So in MySQL, SQL is completely case insensitive, including the data. And here we have the result. Okay, so now if we talk about this question, find the number of customers using payment method either electronic check or mailed check. Now here we have the or clause. Also, one important thing to remember is I cannot use and in this particular question because these two value, which is electronic check, mail check, belong to the same column. So I'm not having any such employee or customer in my table who can have electronic check and mail check simultaneously. So you will not get any record if you use and operator. You have to use or, because either of these condition can be true for a particular employee or for a particular customer. So let's write down the query, select a star from the table, and this table is named as churn underscore data, where the condition is payment method is equal to, the very first one is electronic check and comma, no, not comma, or the second condition is payment method is equal to mailed check, and let's execute it to check if it is working as expected. So here you can see that I'm getting all the records where payment method is either electronic check or mailed check, right? But what if I have to filter a particular column on multiple values? So let's say if we have to filter a column on multiple values, then instead of writing so many or statements, the best way is to use the operator known as in. How we use it? So I'll just quickly copy the same query, and instead of using payment method is equal to electronic check or payment method is equal to mail check, I'll just simply use payment method in, and I'll initiate a round bracket in which I'll write all the categories or all the values on which I wanted to filter this column. So I'm saying where payment method in electronic check or mailed check. Now please remember one thing, it will return you the same result, and if you want you can compare it using the count summary metric. But the advantage is that when we talk about this query where we have written two conditions on the same column, payment method is equal to is electronic check or payment method is equal to mail check, this query will take more time. Why? Because here we are interacting or hitting the payment method column for two times. This is one, this is two. But in this query, we are hitting the payment method column only for one time. And that's the reason this query is more optimized, will take less time compared with this. So when we talk about this particular question, it's asked us to find out average tenure of customers who are having monthly charges greater than or equal to 60 and less than or equal to 100. Okay, so what we have to find out? Average of tenure. Again, guys, please remember, please follow the rule or please follow the way I prefer writing a query. So first of all, check out the table. Since the table is already available to me, I'm not writing select a star from the table, limit 10 or 100 or maybe 20. But I would suggest all of you to follow that as the first step so that you know which all columns and what are their spellings, because SQL is case insensitive, but you cannot write wrong spellings. You have to be correct. So select average of salary from the table, the churn data table, where conditions are monthly charges are greater than or equal to 60 and monthly charges are less than or equal to 100. And this is how we can solve this. Let's execute this one and we have the result, which is 31.669. But in mysql and in SQL in general, there is a way in which we can reduce this. So there is a clause known as the between clause, which is really helpful. If I just copy this and put it over here, so using between, if I want to use between clause, I just have to say monthly charges between 60 and 100, and that's how easy it is. Again, if we compare these two query, here we are hitting the monthly charges column for two times, but here we are hitting the monthly charges column only for one time. So this is more optimized than this. One more additional thing is using between operator, both values 60 and 100 are included. So this is greater than or equal to and this is less than or equal to. So both values are included. If I execute this, here the same answer. If I execute this, exactly the same answer you will get, which is 31. Okay. Okay, let's talk about this particular question. Find the number of customers who are in contract as month to month and 1 year. They are not churn and are using payment method as bank transfer or mail check. So the very first thing that I'll do is I'll look into my table, and I'll be only looking at the top 10 rows. Limit, or maybe let's say the top 5 rows. Now, what all conditions I'm having? Find the number of customers. That basically means I have to use the count function. Select count star from the table churn underscore data, where the condition is who are in contract as month to month and 1 year. So contract column need to be filtered for two values, month to month, 1 year. So where contract in, and I'll put both the categories over here. I'm just simply copy pasting it just to save time. This is condition number 1, and not churn. So and churn is equal to no. This is second condition, and the third condition is payment method as bank transfer or mail check. So I have to filter the payment method column, payment method in bank transfer. This is automatic, so I'll paste it like this: bank transfer automatic, comma, and mail check. So I'll copy this, put it over here, close it, semicolon, and execute. And this is the answer: 1,666 number of customers are there who are basically contract as month to month or 1 year. They are not churn, and their payment method is either this or this. This is how you can apply multiple conditions based on what is the objective, whether you wanted to use and or. Wherever you have to filter a column on one or more than one categories or values, prefer using in. And you can also use between if you have to define a range. If there is a problem, so you might have a problem. Let's say you don't know what are the unique categories you have in this column payment method. So we have a keyword known as distinct, and I want distinct payment method from the table churn underscore data. So what this will do, this will only return you the distinct categories. So this column payment method is having 4 distinct categories: electronic check, mail check, bank transfer, credit card. And it will be easy for you to basically properly filter the data based on how the values are present in your table. Now, given this table, let's say I wanted to filter employees where the first name for them starts from the character S. So let's say I have to perform the filter operation on a string column, on a text column, but with a pattern. So when I say pattern, that basically means, let's say, start with S, end with N, or it consists of, let's say, character E, V. So how we can do that? How we can perform filter on a string or textual column based on a particular pattern? For that particular task, we have an operator known as like, where I have to declare the pattern using some wildcard characters. Let's understand them. Let's say this is my data, employee ID, name, and salary, and I'm having some records. So let's say this is 01, 02, 03, 04, 05. This is Ajay, Sumit, Sunit, Sunej, Sanjay, and Abhay. Salary is 10, 15, 20, 25, 60. Now I want to filter all those employees whose name start with character A. So I'll say select star from the table employees where the field name like, and then I have to define the pattern. The pattern will be A%. Now what is the meaning of this? So first of all, we use the keyword like to declare pattern to perform string matching. Then we have %a, and this is my pattern. This is my pattern. Now how we declare the pattern? So % means any number of characters, and underscore means one character. So these are my two wildcard operators, percentage and underscore. Now when I say, so when I'm writing the pattern like this, A%, this basically means the string should start with A and then followed by any number of characters. If I write %A, this basically means start with any number of characters but ends with character A. If I write %A%, this means consists of character A. So the particular string should consist of character A. If I say __A%, this basically means the particular string should have character A in third place, followed by any number of characters. So using the combination of % and underscore, we can define the pattern, and this is how we declare the pattern. Let's look into one quick example. So let's say I wanted to filter all the employees which are having name as starting with S. So select a star from the table employees where the first name like and then S% and semicolon run. So here you can see that I'm having all the employees with their first name starting from character S. Let's say I want all the employees for which their name start with S and ends with N. So I'll say S%N and let's execute this. So here you can see that we have all the employees with their name starting from S ending with the character N. So let's now solve this question. Find the number of employees having letter E in the third position of their first name. Here we have to work with the table employees underscore data and no, not employees underscore data, employees, and for this I have to use the HR database. So this is my table. Now I have to filter all the employees having letter E in the third position. So select count of employees from the table employees data where the first name like underscore E% because I need E in the third position and followed by any number of characters, and your last name like %A%. So it consists of the character A anywhere in the string. Let's execute this one and here you have the answer. There are 4 such employees. So now let's understand the concept of how to group the data. So this is known as grouping and aggregation. We wanted to group the data and then we wanted to aggregate it. Let's say I'm having a particular table with employee ID, name, department followed by salary, and this is my data that I'm having or my table. Now if I ask you to find out, so let's say the question is find department wise average salary. Now if this is your question, find department wise average salary, first of all think about how the output of this question would look like. The output of this question would have 2 columns. Here I will have department, here I will have average of salary, and then I'll have the result. So let's say if I'm having D1, D1, D2, D1, D2, D3. So in my resultant column, I'll have D1, D2, D3 followed by the average value, let's say 10, 15, 20 and so on. So how we can generate result like this? The simplest way of doing this thing is we have to apply group by or grouping. So we have to write select, then what output I need department and then average of salary. So select department comma average of salary from the table. Let's say the table name is EMP employee, so from employee, and then we have to write group by DEP because here we are grouping the data on this column DP. So we have to mention that in the group by clause, and this will generate the result in this particular form. So let's see a quick example. Let's say I want to find out department wise average salary. So first of all, I will look into the table employees, and now I want department wise average salary. So select department ID comma average of salary from the table employees, followed by group by department ID and execute. So here you can see that we have department wise average salary. Before we proceed to a problem, please understand one thing, that when you are writing the group by statement, so in your select clause, so let me just write down the general schema. Select, then I'm leaving a space over here, then from, then group by, and now I will use the another color. So select, here I'll have column 1 comma column 2 comma aggregation function column 3. From, let's say the table name is EMP, group by column 1 comma column 2. Now why I've used column 1 column 2? Because in your select statement you will have two kinds of columns, one on which you are performing the grouping. So these are your grouping columns. This one is the column on which we are performing the aggregation. So this is my aggregation column, and all the grouping columns are needed to be declared over here, all grouping columns. Now if you try to put anything apart from this, you will get error. So let's say I have added column number 4 also over here, column 4, and I have not mentioned it over here, I'll get error. So we have to make sure that while we are using the group by clause, in my select statement I have properly defined the grouping column and the aggregation column, and all the grouping columns are declared in my group by clause. This is one important thing. The next important thing is regarding filter. So if I have to filter the data when we are grouping the data, then in that case we start with select, then from, and then we filter using where, and then we group. So this is how the sequence of the clause will be. So select, from, where, and then group. Let's look into one example to understand this. So this question is asking us to find out which kind of contract is having more churn is equal to yes customers. So I'll use my telecom database and I'll look into the churn data table. Now I have to find out contract wise, so which kind of contract is having more number of churn customers. So I'll first of all find out contract wise number of customers as CNT from the table churn underscore data and group by contract. Now here what we are trying to do, we wanted to find out contract wise count star means within each contract what is the number of customers from this table group by contract. We have mentioned this grouping column over here, and this is my aggregation column, but I have to also filter. So filter will be after where, after from, where churn is equal to yes, and we are done. Let's execute this one, and here we have the answer. Now what if I have to also order it? I have to view the result in ascending or descending order. So in order to order the data or sort the data, we use the clause known as order by, and this will be at very last or very end of your query. So I'll use the same query, and now I wanted to sort the data or order the data according to this column, which is count star, in ascending order or descending order. So I'll say order by count star, and if I do not mention anything, by default it will be ascending order, but if I want descending, so I have to use the keyword DESC, so it will now be descending order, and here you can see the result. Okay, so now let's understand how to filter a group by table. Let's try to first of all find out department wise average salary. So I'll use my I'll use my HR database, and now I'll find out department wise average salary. So select department ID comma average of salary from the table employees, and we will group by department ID, and let's run it. So here we can see that we have department wise average salary. But what if I wanted to apply a filter on this table? So when your objective is to filter the main table. Now when I say main table, this is the table which is present in your particular database. In that case, we use the where clause, right? So we have already done it in the last question over here. So where churn is equal to yes. So I am trying to filter my churn data table for this condition. But when my objective is to filter the table generated after applying group by, to filter the table generated post group by operation, in that case we use the clause known as having. So we use having when the objective is to filter this table. So let's say now I wanted to find out all those departments where the average salary is greater than 5,000. So after applying group by, I'll say having the average salary, because this is the column on which I wanted to apply the condition, is greater than 5,000, and I can execute this one. So here you will only get those results where the average salary is greater than 5,000. Let me make it to 10 so that I can get few rows. So 10,000, sorry. And here we have only two results. Let's make it to, let's say 8,000. And now you can see the result. What if I also want to order it? So order will come at the very end. So order by, again I wanted to order on the average salary column in this descending order, so DESC, and here we have the result. Now you can see that from the very highest salary to very lowest salary, I'm having all those departments where the average salary was greater than 8,000. And that is the difference between the where clause and the having clause. So let's discuss this one. For this question, I have to use the telecom database, and I will first of all look into my churn data table. So here I'm having the churn data table. Now the question is asking us to find out payment method for which average tenure is more than 30. So I need payment method wise average tenure. So let's find it out. Select payment method comma average of tenure from the table churn underscore data, and we have to mention group by and the grouping column, which is payment method. So we have payment method wise average tenure for which average tenure is more than 30. So we have a condition on grouping column. So having average of tenure, so this is my aggregation column, not grouping column, is more than 30. Include those customers who are non-churn. So we have to filter the main table also where churn is equal to no. Then order the final result in descending order of average tenure. So order by average tenure in the descending order, and we are done. Now before I close this, there is one important thing. If I talk about all the SQL clauses that we have covered up, we start with select, followed by from, followed by where, followed by group by, followed by having, followed by order by. So we select the data from which table, where to filter main table, and when I say main table, the table which is in your database, group by to perform grouping and aggregation, having to filter grouped table, and order by to order the result in ascending or descending.
So I hope that video was very helpful to understand various concepts around SQL, and I hope you guys have started enjoying working with SQL. So that was all about this particular video. I will see you in the next video, but before we end, please make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and do subscribe to our channel Session with Sumit.